Are you a lover of history? Are you a Yoruba person or someone that just love Yoruba history and culture? If you are one of these people, you've got to listen to this very story to the end, because we are going to be talking about Oranmiyan. I'm sure you know everything about this name already, but we are bringing things, some of the things you guys, the little known things about Oranmiyan, which by the time we are done with this video, you'll be so amazed, about this character of this personality called Oramiyan. Okay? So in the hearts of Yoruba people, Oramiyan remains a force. Yes, big force, eternal, enigmatic, unconquerable. His name is not just history, it is a legacy, a myth, a power. And when the winds blow through the forest of life, some still claim to hear his footsteps, steady, thunderous, eternal. Oramiya, the man who wore three crowns. Yes, you heard me well. He was the only king in the history of the Yoruba kingdom that wore three crowns. Yes. So listen to the rest of the story, and I'm sure you'll be very amazed, by the time we are through with this video. So they called him Oranmiyan. Sorry if my pronunciation are not so okay, but so the child who shows controversy, that is what it means. Okay? And indeed, his very existence stirred gods, kings, and warriors alike. Born in the sacred land of Ile-Ife, his birth alone was the beginning of a mystery still whispered in royal courts and forest globes. Oramiya was not just a prince, he was a divine contradiction. Yes, you heard me well. Some say he had two fathers. That is Oduduwa, the great the great progenitor of the Yoruba, and Ogun, the god of war and iron. Maybe I need to repeat this. It is said that he has two fathers. That is Oduduwa, the great progenitor of the Yoruba race, and Ogun, the god of war and iron. His mother, Lakange Anehunka, a war prize of Ogun, carried in her womb a child neither God nor mortal could fully claim. Listen, from birth, he was marked. Yes, completely marked. One half of his body, glowed with the fair skin of Ogun. The other, a deep ebony like Oduduwa. Are you saying? I'm sure a lot of you never knew this, but this is what it is. A giant in stature, a hunter by instinct, and a warrior by destiny. He was a man destined not to belong to one kingdom, but to all. His voice thundered like a war drum. His footsteps were said to shake the earth. In Ife, he earned the title Akogun, the first war general, because no enemy could match his ferocity. No battle could quench his taste for conquest. Yet his journey had only just begun. Far away in the land of Igodomigodo. I'm sure some of you are hearing this name for the first time. Okay, Igodomigodo. Okay, listen very well because it's getting very interesting. It will start getting interesting now. So far away in the land of Igodomigodo, what would later be known as Benin, a crisis raged. The kingdom sought a ruler strong enough to tame their fractured land. Eyes turned to Ile-Ife. And so Oromia was sent not as an ambassador, but as a conqueror cloaked in diplomacy. Don't forget that in those days, at the time Ile-Ife was approached, okay, the Benin people at that time, their monarchic system was known as the Ogiso. It was the Ogisos that were ruling at that time. But it got to a time they maybe people were dissatisfied with the kind of kingship they had there. They had crisis, and who knows, perhaps the fame of Romia has grown beyond Ife, and that is why Ife was approached, you know, and the Ife kingdom, decided to send Oranmiyan not as an ambassador, you heard me well, but as a conqueror cloaked in diplomacy. He was supposed to go there as a diplomat of some sort, but he actually went there as a conqueror. Just here further. He camped at a place called Use, meaning the marking of a city. And indeed, he made more than a city. He made history. His rulership in Benin was alien to the people because the Benin, I mean, they were not that structured, forceful or regular. Because when he came, he started showing, um, some of the stuff that he was made of. Some chiefs resistant to his methods spied on him, undermined him in the process. In a moment of frustration and prophecy, Oranmiyan declared, only a child of the soil can rule these vexatious lands. He referred to the Benin's at that time as vexatious people, and people who have temper, according to what we heard. And with that, he named it Ile-Ibinu, land of vexation. That is the meaning. And I think this Ile-Ibinu was what was later corrupted to Benin. Ile-Ibinu, okay? I think it was the Portuguese or some of these foreigners who came that corrupted that name from Ile-Ibinu to Benin and to what it is today as Benin City. But before he left, because don't forget he left out of anger because these people were too vexatious, according to what he said. But before he left, Oranmiyan sowed the seed of dynasty. In the town of Ego, he married the beautiful Erinwide, the daughter of the local duke. Their son, Eweka I, would later be crowned the first true Oba of Benin Kingdom. That lineage remains unbroken even till today. You heard me well. So from the bitter politics of Benin, Oranmiyan journeyed northward with his ever loyal warriors. He wandered until he arrived at the river Moshi near the great Niger. There he founded a new city, Oyo Ile as it was then was, a city destined to become an empire. He fought the Baripa people, married the Tapa princess, Torosi, and shared one of the greatest names in Yoruba mythology, Sango, the god of thunder, or more. This is getting very interesting. And I'm sure those of you who have listened up to this point are really intrigued about this personality of Romeo. Yes, it was Oranmiyan who laid the foundation for the Oyo Empire. Yes, that great Oyo Empire that a lot of us have read in history books in those days, that expanded all the way to part of Nupe, part of so many parts of Nigeria and even beyond. That is the Oranmiyan we are talking about today. Yes, that is the Oranmiyan we are talking about today. He became the very first Alafin of Oyo. Yes, that is where it all started. And his bloodline ruled for generations. Yes, for generations. He was no longer just a prince of the Ife or a rejected ruler in Benin. He was now an emperor, the architect of Oyo's golden age. Yet, even empires could not hold his spirit for long. Driven by vision, perhaps haunted by destiny, Oranmiyan left Oyo. He ventured into Nupe territories. Some say seeking wisdom, others say conquest. There too, he made his mark, though the winds of time have buried much of his legacy in that part of the region. But it was his return to Ile-Ife that would become some legendary stuff. I'm sure you can't wait to hear how it came back to Ile-Ife. News spread through the forest and across rivers that Oromiyan is returning back to Ile-Ife. And the question you want to ask, even at this moment, is returning back as what now? Because they have their own Oni already in place and all that. So the then Oni of Ife, upon hearing this, did not wait to confront him. As the guy, yes, this great warrior, after I don't go Benin, you don't install picking there, you don't go or your empire, virgin place, create or your empire that was later known for winning a lot of battles. As the guy, yes, this great warrior, they come back. Okay, according to the story. He said the then Oni, upon hearing this, did not wait to confront him. Some say it was out of fear, others claim it was divine instruction. Whatever it was, the Oni, as he then was, fled the throne. And so, without drawing a single sword, without spilling a drop of blood, Oranmiyan walked into Ile-Ife, not as a prince, but as its king, the sixth Oni of Ile-Ife. That is it. A feat never achieved by any other mortal in Yoruba history. So this gives us three thrones, three empires, but one man, Oranmiyan. This was really a legendary status, if I must say. But like all legends, his end was cloaked in mystery. Some say he vanished, others say he was taken by the gods. But the people of Ile-Ife, his blood, his warriors, they built a monument, a towering obelisk, a staff unlike any other, Opa Oromia. I'm sure my pronunciation is a bit fair. I think Opa Oromia, yes, that is it. They constructed that Opa Oromia, the staff of Oromia. 5.5 meters tall, carved from a single stone, edged with ancient symbols. Today it stands in a sacred grove in Mopa, Ile-Ife, a silent testimony to a giant who ruled with sword and spirit. So, was he a man or God, if I may ask? A warrior or a prophet? I'm sure you already know what it is. So, you see, the story of Oromio is a beautiful one. And I thought it wise that there are a lot of history lovers, Yoruba cultural history lovers, and people who just love history, that they want to know about Oromia. And that is why yours sincerely has decided to put this piece together to tell you that Oromia was not just an ordinary mortal. He's a legendary person. He's a myth. Until today, even as I make this video, people still revere his name. And and he's just one iconic figure that people will continue to talk about for the rest of our lives. So I'm going to leave this story right here. And I know that those of you who have listened up to this point will have been able to learn one or two things about Oromio, the great Oromio, that you never knew. He's the only man. He ruled in Benin, he ruled in Oyo, and he came back to Ile-Ife. He is the only one in history that makes him special. Okay, so I'm going to leave it right there. For those of you who have listened up to this point, what do you think about this legendary king? Please go to the comment section. Leave your comments right there. I want to meet you right there. Thank you. God bless you and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye bye.